Hello everyone, in this video we're going to show you how to make a successful coyote stand. We're going to walk you through from start to finish. We'll cover stand selection, wind direction, e-call placement, and sound files you use on stand throughout the year. First things first, you have to have access to land that actually holds coyotes. You can't call up a coyote where there are no coyotes. Even if the property you'll be hunting has a healthy population, that doesn't mean you can just set up anywhere on that property and expect to be successful. I like to gather some intel before I start to hunt, like studying aerial maps for possible stand locations. I'm looking for spots with good visibility that are close to areas where coyotes may lay up for the day. Walking the property looking for coyote signs such as tracks, hair, and droppings can be very beneficial. You'll also want to talk with the landowners and farmers. They can give you vital information on where and when they see or hear coyotes. Gather all the information you can so you can set yourself up for success. A huge factor that's imperative for you to pay attention to is wind direction. Wind direction can make or break a coyote stand. If a coyote smells just a molecule of your scent, he will not come to the call, and it's very likely that you'll make that coyote call shy. The main thing to remember is not have the wind blowing from you to where the coyotes are. You should have a very good idea of where your coyotes are located from the intel that you've gathered through scouting on your properties that you have to hunt. So, you have ground to hunt, you've scouted and have a good idea where your coyotes are, and you understand the importance of wind direction. Next thing up is your approach into the coyote stand. This is very simple. Stay as low impact as possible. You want to keep from doing anything that may alert a coyote of your presence. Stay as quiet as possible. Stay out of sight, and always be mindful of your wind direction even when walking into the coyote stand. Next up is figuring out where to place the e-call. Placement of your Foxpro unit on stand will be determined by a number of factors. Lay of the land, where you'll be sitting, wind direction, where you think the coyotes are, and where you'd like to steer the coyotes to. You'll take into consideration all these factors so you can determine what distance and which direction you'll be placing your unit from where you'll be sitting. For instance, on this stand, I generally have coyotes that lay up in the thicket across the fence, and if I hunt this with a right to left crosswind, I can set my Foxpro between myself and the thicket at 50-ish yards, and I can then position myself and my rifle to intercept a coyote that's trying to circle to the downwind side. When calling, we're playing on a handful of things that trigger a coyote. Their territorial instincts, protective paternal instincts, their need for food, and their curiosity. I personally like to put sound sequences together that basically tell a story that prompts a coyote to come to the Foxpro. Coyote behavior changes throughout the year, so we need to play sounds and sequences that match what's going on in a coyote's life at that particular time. We can divide the calling season into 4 sections. Breeding season, denning and pup rearing season, family bust up, and yearling dispersal. Mid-February is the peak of the coyote's breeding season. You can be very productive calling coyotes from January through early March by taking advantage of this yearly event. Coyotes will come to your Foxpro through this stretch for food, to defend territory, and for breeding opportunities. Of course, a coyote still needs to eat through this time period, but it seems to take a backseat to other impending needs, if you know what I mean. On occasion, I do start my stand with some light prey distress during the breeding season, just in case I have a coyote that's close, that's hungry. I only run the prey distress for just a couple minutes at 50% volume or less, and if I don't see a coyote advancing, I quickly go into coyote vocals. Coyote howls, pair howls, submissive sounds, female whimpers, adult coyote fights, and breeding fights are what get played out of my Foxpro the most throughout the breeding season. I'll play a series of howls such as female soar howls or female yodel howls at 3/4 volume, and then I watch and wait for 4 to 5 minutes. If nothing shows, I run another series of howls, and again, I watch and wait. If no coyotes are in sight, it's time to tell the rest of the story. I'll play a series of submissive, breeding, and fight sounds back to back to back. Sounds such as Foxpro's coy submissive, Foxpro's female whimpers, MFK's hooked pair, and MFK's girl fight. You want to set the stage of a lonely coyote looking for a mate. A potential partner arrives, and then courtship ensues. A coyote or coyotes can show up at any time throughout this sequence in search of either companionship or to run other coyotes out of the area. On average, most of our coyotes across the country are born in mid-April. This is a huge transition period for the coyotes, and that transition is obvious. They've got a litter of pups to care for and raise. The coyote's territorial and paternal instincts are at their peak from April through August. A coyote hunter can capitalize on this with proper sounds and sequences. I personally like to stick with coyote vocals during this time period. Howls, crying puppies, pup distresses, pup fights, and adult coyote fights are what's getting the majority of the airplay. During this stretch, I want to give my rabbit, bird, and rodent sounds a rest. On occasion, I mix in a fawn distress from late May through July, but I use it sparingly. Again, I want to tell a story with my sound sequence. I'll start the stand with a series of lone howls. I'll then wait 2 to 4 minutes to see if I get a response from a coyote, or to see if I have a coyote that's advancing to the call. If nothing shows, I'll then go into a small puppy sound such as Canine Pups 2, Coyote Pup 314, or MFK's Broke Pups, running that sound for 3 to 4 minutes. If a coyote still doesn't show, I'll take a short pause, and then I'll play a couple older age class pup distresses such as Pup Distress number 3 and Coy Pup Screams for another 2 to 3 minutes. If we still don't have a coyote that shows up, I'll get a little more aggressive. I'll go to a pup fight for 2 minutes such as MFK's Den Smash or Den Vicious. Then to end our stand, I'll run a couple minutes of an aggressive adult fight such as MFK's Pound Town or Table Scraps. Woo! The sequence told a story of an intruding coyote in the area with some pups. Then things got rough with the pup distresses and pup fights, and then ended with an all-out fight. It's possible for a coyote to show up at any time throughout this sequence. When September rolls around, the family groups are starting to string out a bit. The yearling coyotes have started to shed their baby teeth and are now hunting on their own. All the family members will stay in the same general area, and they still keep in contact with each other until they ultimately disperse. This is a fantastic time to be a coyote caller. The action can be fast, and you can really stack up those doubles, triples, and quads throughout this time. Lone pup howls, social sounds, prey distresses, pup distresses, and older age class pup fights are dynamite from September through October. Lots of fighting. The members of the coyote family are now competing for food, and when they come into contact with each other, there's usually some fighting that's taking place. They're not nearly as tolerant of each other as they once were. Like I said before, I want to tell a story with my sound sequence. I'll start with 1 or 2 series of pup howls such as Foxpro's C5 Young Coyote howls or MFK's BAM Pup howls. I'll wait just a couple minutes and then I'll play a few minutes of a prey distress such as Baby Cottontail or Eastern Cottontail. I'll then follow that up with a social sound such as MFK's Submissive Beggar, and I'll end with a fight such as MFK Table Scraps or Pound Town. This sequence tells the story of a yearling coyote that has caught dinner. A litter mate joins into the mix, and their confrontation turns into a fight. Again, coyotes can show up to the Foxpro at any time during this sequence, and lots of times you'll have multiple coyotes show up from different directions. Going into November, most of the coyote yearlings are now functioning on their own. This is a time of year when I'm more prey distress heavy. Probably half to 2/3 of my calling sequence is going to involve prey distress sounds. For the early morning and late afternoon stands, I'm still opening with a coyote howl. I like non-aggressive type howls for this time frame, such as Foxpro's C5 Young Coyote howls and female long howls too. Between the early morning stands and the late afternoon stands, I'll dive right into prey distress right off the bat. I'll play a distress sound for 4 to 6 minutes, occasionally running the volume up and down. I'll pause for 1 minute and then choose a different prey distress sound. I'll run the second prey sound for 4 to 6 minutes, ramping the volume up and down as well. If a coyote doesn't show, I'll end the stand with a coyote pup distress or coyote fight. Look for coyotes to charge into your prey distress sounds during the November and December months. But don't be surprised if you still call coyotes at the end of your stand to the pup distresses and the coyote fights. We want all Foxpro users to be successful calling coyotes. We hope this video helps you find success in the field. Good luck to you.